My name is Daniel Carter. I'm 34 years old. I live in a quiet suburb outside of Chicago. My wife, Emily, and I had been married for 7 years. No kids. Not because we didn't want them, we just kept saying, not yet. There was always something. Student loans, the mortgage, her career transition, my promotion we were waiting on. Life always seemed to be preparing us for happiness, but never actually delivering it. I worked for a large tech consulting company based in New York. I wasn't some executive, just a senior project manager who stayed late, took on extra accounts, and tried to prove I deserved to be where I was. I grew up with nothing. Stability meant everything to me. That year, the company announced an internal competition. The most successful project lead would win an all-expenses-paid solo vacation to Hawaii. 10 days, private resort, oceanfront villa. I didn't think much of it. I just worked. I poured everything into my biggest client of the year, sleepless nights, constant calls, solving problems no one else wanted to deal with. When they announced the winner at the annual corporate dinner in Manhattan, I was halfway through a glass of whiskey when I heard my name. Daniel Carter. Applause, lights, my boss shaking my hand. Emily sitting at the table, smiling, clapping, proud. I remember looking at her and thinking, I did this for us. The prize was for one person. We couldn't afford to upgrade to a couple's package, not without dipping into savings. Emily insisted I go alone. You deserve it, she said. Go relax, come back recharged. There was something in her voice I didn't quite catch then. Maybe hesitation, maybe distance, but I brushed it off. A month later, I was on a plane to Maui. The resort was unreal. White sand beaches, water so clear it didn't look real, palm trees swaying like something out of a movie. My villa sat just steps from the ocean, floor-to-ceiling windows, a private plunge pool. For the first 2 days, I did nothing, slept, swam, drank cocktails, answered a few texts from Emily. On the third evening, I met her. Her name was Ashley Monroe. She was sitting alone at the beach bar, reading a paperback novel. Blonde hair pulled loosely into a messy bun, sun-kissed skin, a small tattoo on her wrist. She looked up when I sat 2 stools away. Vacationing solo? She asked, smiling. Yeah, work prize, I replied. Same, well, not the work prize part, just needed to disappear for a while. We started talking. She was from San Diego, worked in marketing for a fashion brand, recently ended a long-term relationship. She said she came to Maui to reset her life. That word stuck with me. Reset. We talked about everything that night, careers, expectations, the pressure to succeed, feeling like you're living the life you're supposed to have instead of the one you actually want. She looked at me like I was interesting, like I wasn't just someone's husband, someone's employee, someone's provider. I didn't tell her I was married right away. I don't know why. Maybe because saying it out loud would have built a wall I didn't want there. On the 4th day, we had breakfast together. On the 5th, we rented paddleboards. On the 6th night, we walked along the shoreline long after the sun had set. The ocean was black and endless, the air warm. She brushed her hand against mine. Are you going back to someone? She asked softly. That was the moment. I could have lied. Instead, I said yes. She was quiet for a few seconds. Then she nodded. Okay, she said. I just wanted to know. We kept walking. I told myself that honesty somehow made it less wrong. That night, I didn't go back to my villa alone. I remember lying next to her afterward, staring at the ceiling fan turning slowly above us. My chest felt tight, not just from guilt, but from adrenaline, from being wanted, from feeling alive in a way I hadn't in years. I texted Emily the next morning like nothing had happened. Miss you, beach is beautiful, wish you were here. She sent back a heart. Ashley and I spent almost every remaining day together. We didn't talk about the future. We didn't make promises, it was understood. This was temporary, a bubble. A separate reality, but emotions don't stay contained just because you label them temporary. On the last night, she lay with her head on my chest. What happens when you go home? She asked. I go back to my life. And are you happy there? The question hit harder than it should have. I have a good life, I answered carefully. She lifted her head and looked at me. That's not what I asked. I didn't respond. When I boarded the plane back to Chicago, I told myself it was over. A mistake. A vacation fantasy, something that would fade once I stepped back into real life. Emily picked me up from the airport. She hugged me tightly, longer than usual. I missed you, she whispered. I missed you too, I said, and I meant it. For the first few days, everything felt normal, work, dinners together. Weekend grocery shopping, but inside me something had shifted, then Ashley texted. Made it back to San Diego, feels weird being home. I stared at the message for a long time before responding. Yeah, same. That was the beginning. At first, it was casual. A few texts a day, jokes about the resort, memories of the beach. Then it turned into long conversations at night, video calls when Emily was in the shower or asleep. Ashley told me she couldn't stop thinking about me. I told her I felt connected to her in a way I hadn't expected. She asked if I would ever visit. I checked the distance between Chicago and San Diego. About 4 hours by flight, 3 by time difference. 3 hours felt dangerously close. I told Emily I had a one-day conference in Los Angeles 2 months later. Instead, I flew to San Diego. Ashley met me at the airport. She ran into my arms like we were something real. That first visit was just one night. I told myself it was closure. It wasn't. After that, I started finding reasons to travel more. Client meetings, training sessions, networking events. Each trip a little longer, each lie a little easier to tell. Emily started asking questions. "You've been traveling a lot lately." "It's good for my career," I replied. She nodded, but she was watching me differently. Ashley wanted more. "Why are you still there?" she asked one night. "If you're not happy." "I never said I wasn't happy." "You never said you were." I began staying 2 days instead of 1. Then entire weekends. I would tell Emily my schedule changed last minute. One Sunday night, as I lay in Ashley's apartment, she traced circles on my chest. "Leave her," she said quietly. I didn't answer. Back in Chicago, Emily felt further away from me than ever before. She would reach for my hand in bed, and I would pretend to be asleep. She would talk about future plans, maybe finally trying for a baby, and my stomach would twist. I was living 2 lives, and I thought I was controlling both. Until the message came. It was a Thursday afternoon. I was at work when my phone buzzed, a text from Emily. "I think you should come home early today." There was an attachment. I opened it. It was a photo, me, standing outside Ashley's apartment building in San Diego, my face clearly visible. Ashley beside me, her hand on my arm. The angle was from across the street, a long lens. My blood ran cold. Another message followed. "When you come home, I won't be here." And then, "I hired a private investigator 3 weeks ago." My hands started shaking. The room felt like it was closing in. I stared at the photo again. There was no denying it, no explaining it away. She knew everything. I don't remember the drive home. I know I left work early. I know I ignored 3 calls from Ashley. I know my chest felt like it was being crushed from the inside. When I pulled into the driveway, Emily's car was gone. The house looked the same, quiet, ordinary, like nothing had happened. Inside, it was too clean, closets half empty. Her shoes gone from the hallway rack, the framed photo from our wedding missing from the living room wall. On the kitchen counter, there was an envelope with my name written in her handwriting. Daniel. My hands were shaking so badly I almost tore the paper, pulling the letter out. I didn't want to believe it. I told myself I was being paranoid, that I was imagining things, but you changed. You were somewhere else even when you were sitting right next to me, so I hired someone. I hoped I would feel stupid for doubting you. Instead, I feel stupid for trusting you. I won't scream. I won't beg. I won't compete. You made your choice over and over again. By the time you read this, I'll be staying with my sister in Boston. Don't try to find me. I need space to decide if there's anything left to save. If you want her, go to her. If you want us, you'll have to understand what you destroyed. There was no "I love you" at the end, just her name, Emily. I sank into one of the kitchen chairs and stared at nothing. I had always imagined that if I were ever caught, if something like this ever happened, there would be yelling, plates breaking, tears, drama, but this quiet devastation was worse. It meant she had already grieved me. My phone buzzed again. Ashley. "Did you talk to her?" I hadn't told Ashley about the message yet. She knew I was having problems at home, but not that everything had exploded. "She knows," I texted back, a pause, "and she left." 3 dots appeared, disappeared. Appeared again. "Daniel, I'm sorry, but maybe this is what needed to happen." What needed to happen? The words made something inside me snap. That night I walked through the house alone. Every room carried memories. The couch where we had fallen asleep watching movies. The kitchen where we danced once at 2 a.m. because our favorite song came on. The bedroom where we talked about baby names we liked but never used. I realized something terrifying. I hadn't cheated because I was deeply unhappy. I had cheated because I was restless, because I wanted to feel wanted. Because I liked the version of myself Ashley saw, exciting, spontaneous, unburdened. But that version didn't have to pay the mortgage. Didn't have to sit through doctor's appointments when Emily had a pregnancy scare that ended in quiet heartbreak. Didn't have to build a life piece by piece. Ashley knew the vacation version of me. Emily knew the real one, and I had betrayed the only person who had chosen the real one. The next few days were a blur. Emily didn't answer my calls. She sent one short message. I need time. Ashley, on the other hand, called constantly. Come here, she said. Stay with me for a while, figure things out. It sounded tempting. Escape to California, start over, rewrite the story, so I did. A week later, I was on a flight to San Diego again, but this time not for a weekend. I told myself I was choosing honesty, that I wasn't sneaking anymore. Ashley picked me up from the airport. She kissed me like we had won something. For the first few days, it felt intense. Passionate, almost triumphant. No more hiding, no more hotel check-ins under fake pretexts. We went out to dinner openly. Walked hand in hand along the harbor, posted subtle photos online. But reality has a way of creeping in. I was working remotely from her apartment. Time zones made meetings awkward. My boss started asking questions about my extended travel. Emily hadn't filed for divorce, at least not yet, but she had removed her last name from mine on social media, taken down our photos. One night, about 3 weeks into living with Ashley, we had our first real fight. It started small, dishes in the sink, me being distracted during a conversation. You're still thinking about her, Ashley said suddenly. I looked up. What, Emily, you're still thinking about her? I just ended a marriage, I snapped. Of course I'm thinking about it. You didn't end it, she shot back. You got caught. The words hit harder than I expected, because they were true. Silence filled the room. Do you love her? She asked quietly. I opened my mouth, closed it. I didn't know how to answer. Ashley's face changed. The excitement, the fire that had drawn me in on that beach, it dimmed. I didn't sign up to be someone's escape plan, she said. Over the next month, the fantasy continued to unravel. Without secrecy, without the stolen glance adrenaline, what we had felt different. Smaller. We argued about practical things, money, space, my uncertainty. She wanted me to commit fully, talk about moving permanently, maybe even starting fresh together. But every time she mentioned a future, my chest tightened, because my future had once had a different face. One evening, I received an email from Emily. Subject line. We need to talk. She was ready to meet. I flew to Boston 2 days later. Seeing her standing outside her sister's townhouse felt surreal. She looked thinner, stronger somehow, composed. We sat across from each other at a small coffee shop. No yelling, I asked quietly. She shook her head. I already did that, just not in front of you. That hurt more than anger would have. She asked me one question. Was she worth it? I wanted to say yes, to defend my choices, to justify months of lies, but I saw the exhaustion in her eyes. No, I said. It was the first completely honest thing I had said in months. Tears welled in her eyes, but she blinked them back. I don't know if I can ever trust you again, she said, but I needed to hear that. We talked for 2 hours about everything, about the investigator, about the nights she lay awake when I was supposedly at conferences, about how she had blamed herself at first, wondering what she had done wrong. That broke me, because she hadn't done anything wrong. I had. When I returned to San Diego, I knew something had shifted again. Ashley sensed it immediately. You saw her, she said. Yes. And I don't know what I'm doing, I admitted. For the first time, I allowed myself to say it out loud. I blew up my life because I was chasing a feeling, not a future. Ashley looked at me for a long time. I think, she said slowly, that you loved how I made you feel, not me. I didn't argue. A week later, I moved out of her apartment, not back to Emily, just out. I rented a small, furnished place near the airport. Neutral ground, no history, no fantasy. Emily and I started therapy sessions separately at first. Then together online. It was awkward, painful, exposing. There were moments she almost walked away for good. There were moments I wondered if I deserved her even trying. Ashley texted once after I left. I hope you figure yourself out. I didn't reply. Months passed. Trust doesn't rebuild with apologies. It rebuilds with consistency, with transparency, with brutal honesty. I gave Emily access to everything, my phone, my accounts, my location. Not because she demanded it, but because I had forfeited the right to privacy when I chose deception. Some days she was distant. Some days she reached for my hand again. One night, almost a year after Hawaii, we sat on our living room floor surrounded by half-unpacked boxes. She had finally moved back home. I'm still angry, she admitted. I know, I might always be. I know, she looked at me. Why did you really do it? I thought about the beach, the warm air, the version of me that didn't carry responsibility. Because I was selfish, I said, and I confused excitement with happiness. She nodded slowly. I don't know what our story will look like from here, she said, but if we try, it won't be the same as before. She was right, something had died. But something else, something more honest, less naive, was trying to be born. I used to think the worst part of betrayal was getting caught. It's not. The worst part is realizing you became someone you never thought you'd be. I don't know if Emily and I will grow old together. I don't know if Ashley ever thinks about that beach in Maui. But I know this. A single choice made in a moment of selfish desire can echo for years. And sometimes the real consequence isn't losing one person. It's having to live with the version of yourself you exposed.